You're gonna love every second of this, at least I did. There's no way that Brian Tyler Cohen is coming back from this one after Joe Rogan put him in his place for lying about Joe's political and media influence. But I think it reveals a panic that has set in the Democratic establishment with the right's domination over a new media. That's a treat to watch. Let's watch this as we go exactly over what I mean.
You know, I saw a video yesterday about you. Oh, the Joe Rogans of the world are influencing you. Like,
oh, that's that feminist guy.
Yeah, and like they're so
he tried
mad.
to say that there's this multi-billion-dollar right-wing ecosystem that's been developed, just like a terrorist network that radicalizes young people. Like, what? By talking to scientists?
By telling them to be good guys? To tell them to be honorable to their partner?
Radicalizes.
That's not radical.
Radicalizes.
Also, let me ask you, on air for this podcast, how much money did Donald Trump give you to endorse him?
$100 million.
No, he didn't.
He gave me nothing.
Gave you zero, Joe.
Gave me nothing.
He gave you zero because you thought, I think that this is what's best for the country, given the two options.
I knew the resistance that it would face, but
how
I think
much did
it's
Beyonce
true.
get?
She got $10 million.
$10 million?
But hold on. She talked for like 3 minutes. That's good.
What do you mean that's good?
I mean, that's enough.
That's too much.
No, it's plenty. It's perfect.
10 million.
It's a good deal. The taxpayers' money.
That laugh was just contagious, and I think it communicated exactly how Joe brushes off the left-wing media, pointing out their cannons directly toward him after this official endorsement of Donald Trump. But you know what's crazy? The left is pretending to be surprised by the fact that the core demographic they talked down to has now checked out completely. And you saw in this election that the young male voter was one of the key demographics that created a large rightward wave toward Donald Trump. Polling data from Harvard had basically been screaming this truth to the Democrats for months when it revealed that, quote, Biden's lead among women is nearly identical, but his lead among likely male voters has been dramatically reduced from over 26 in 2020 to just over 6% today. And if these demographics are scooped up by the other poll of the culture war, they're going to complain about it. Here's what prominent left-wing commentator Brian Tyler Cohen originally said that started this all.
First and foremost, something that I've been beating the drum about for years now, the right has a propaganda machine at its disposal that hums on for 24 hours a day on TV and radio and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and Discord servers everywhere that pump out right-wing propaganda on an endless loop. The top 20 podcasts in America include Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Theo Von, Dan Bongino, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, and Ben Shapiro. You know who we've got on the left on that list? The Daily and Pod Save America. All the while, Democrats continue, for some fucking reason unbeknownst to me, to pretend that mainstream media is some partner in democracy, that they're on our team. I don't know how much clearer I can say this. They are not on our team. Corporate media exists to serve its shareholders. It is a business before it's anything else, certainly before it's some protector of democracy. And yet still, our side has decided that when there's a big interview, go to mainstream media. When there's news, give it to mainstream media. Let's keep validating the same outlets that continuously undermine us at every single turn. Sometimes I have to beg politicians for interviews for my channel for months and months and months and months and still don't even hear back. And yet they'll fall over themselves to go talk to the New York Times.
I gotta say, that oversized hoodie he's wearing communicates exactly the low spirits he's in as a departure from the sharp blue suit that he usually wears. But is Brian really blaming those supposed right-wing podcasts for being one of the biggest in the country? Does he realize that they wouldn't be as big if the Democrats hadn't scoffed and demonized them? And the young men leaving the space open for a different message? And a lot of people in mainstream media are just finally coming around to this. That they don't have someone like Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan on the left to cater to those young men who feel alienated by the system.
When a man is just lost and lonely and not yet radicalized, we don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction.
But guess what? They already had a Joe Rogan on the left, and his name was Joe Rogan. Why does the left consistently fail to see the pattern that people that used to call themselves liberal progressives in the colloquial sense, like Joe and Bill Maher, have been abandoned by them? Joe in particular was a Bernie Sanders supporter for the longest time, which is about as a left as you can realistically be on something like the economy. But while that was true, the Democratic Party had practically abandoned Bernie Sanders himself and adopted a woke brand of identity politics. The left lost a name like Joe Rogan to someone more independent like RFK Jr., and then rode that train all the way to supporting the Republican Party and Donald Trump. And to prove that, there is no one that has spoken to a wider range of people than Joe Rogan.
They're $20 million. They spent $1 billion. They're $20 million in debt, and Trump offered to pay their debt. He's like, we have a lot of money left over because most of our media was too good. Called it earned media. I had to look it up. So earned media is essentially whenever he's in the news, or when he's getting interviewed on shows or on podcasts. Yeah. That's earned media, and that's what he did.
Well, I just love, people go, why are you getting so passionate about this, Jeff? It's like, it's right in front of your eyes.
Right.
If you have to pay someone $10 million to endorse A, but then like B is doing it for free because they believe in that like idea. Which one seems more nefarious?
Bro, Eminem took 1.8.
1.8.
Is that real?
How do we know that's true?
Because I said it.
I've not found any evidence that supports this stuff.
I think it's all legit.
Some of them being asked and said I was not paid.
But wait a minute, Oprah was paid. There was an FEC thing.
Her company was paid to host an event.
Okay. They paid her company $1 million, dude.
Yes, at least that's one thing that we can say with confidence given what the FEC filings themselves show, but none of that exorbitant spending is even needed when the most effective way of reaching people is still basically free, which is social media and the platform of podcasts. For example, there were reports last year that even Gavin Newsom's son is enamored by figures like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson in his formative years as a man. And that should be proof enough that there was no one inspiring enough on the left for that young boy, even when his father presided over some of the most culturally far-left states in the country with California. And that's actually true on the other side of the aisle with Barron Trump, who I just have to say did amazing. And he was actually the mind behind Donald Trump's successful media strategy of alternative media leverage. If you think about it, the insistence in both the Democratic Party and the left-wing media establishment to live in an echo chamber is the reason they left the ground open to online media in the first place. And someone as prominent on the left as Cenk Uygur is at first-hand testament with that in his own media company. Writing on X after the election, he said, quote, "I interviewed and debated nearly a dozen right-wingers before the election. The right wing is 1,000 times more open to talking than the stuck-up Democrats in Washington who just hate the idea of someone who isn't in the elites." But it's not just the Democrats in Washington, nor just the legacy media. The left's refusal to reach across the aisle is evident even when there's nothing holding them back from it, which is the world of online media. Take Brian Tyler Cohen, for example, who, despite being one of the largest progressive shows on YouTube, still has a painfully narrow selection of guests that come on to debate him. That's why he's never really broken the fold and developed an audience on the other side. I think it's a failed strategy that's losing the culture war for the left of the online space and will keep losing it if they don't correct course. And that's too bad, by the way, because Brian Tyler Cohen could potentially be a really great YouTuber. But let me know if you agree and share this video with your liberal friends to see if they'd like to see their party get off the moral high horse and use online media like it's supposed to, which is reaching across and breaking the old ideological barricades of the mainstream media.